Greetings to everyone. My name is Boaz Shidogo, and I'm glad to be here again. And today we just want to share on forgiveness. We don't have so much time to talk about it, but we'll just look at maybe 3 areas. We'll describe forgiveness, and then we'll look at foundation, and then we'll look at why do we need to forgive. So I'll start by defining forgiveness. Forgiveness is giving up the right to revenge. And mostly we see this through God himself when he gave Jesus his son. And this we can see in John 3:16. This was an act of forgiveness for what he had done. He didn't want to bring vengeance to us like the way he did in the earlier days. We know the likes of Sodom and Gomorrah or the days of Noah. So it's an act of forgiveness that took God to give us his son. For forgiveness to take place, there needs to be conviction. And then one would ask, what is conviction? I would say conviction is when the truth inside of you is so loud that you have to respond to its demand or what it is asking of you. That is what I'll probably say is conviction. Let us go to the foundations of forgiveness. And I'll start by reading a scripture. Mark 11:25-26, and it says, "When you pray, if you remember anyone who has wronged you, forgive him so that God above can also forgive you. If you don't forgive others, don't expect God's forgiveness." This is a translation called The Voice. And then we also have Romans 5:8, and it reads, "But God demonstrates his own love toward us, in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." For me, I look at this also as a sign of forgiveness. We've been forgiven, and despite the nature that we are still in, God gave his son to die for us. The hurting person has to take the initiative first by forgiving before he can ask for forgiveness. And this is clearly seen from the book of Matthew chapter 6, where we get to see the Lord's Prayer or read about the Lord's Prayer. And it says, "And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." Here, forgiveness has a condition. So we need to forgive so that we too can be forgiven. And then finally, in just building on the foundations, we look at Luke 6:31, and it says, "Do to others what you would have them do to you." So it's quite interesting that I would want you to forgive me, but I wouldn't want to forgive you. So Luke puts it very clear that we too need to forgive so that we too can be forgiven, just as the Lord's Prayer has been indicated, or what Christ shared with us through the Lord's Prayer. That's the foundation, and now I want us to look at why is there a need for us to forgive. First, we need to forgive because it sets the forgiver free. One who forgives is set free. It's the antidote for feelings of anger, resentment, and bitterness. Whenever you have unforgiveness inside of you and you see the person who probably wronged you, at times they don't know even they've wronged you, but for you, you carry that resentment and bitterness and anger in you. It's not necessary. And then you can only overcome the hurt and harm done to you through forgiveness. That's the only way you can be able to live better, by overcoming the pain that you're carrying, by letting go. Anger, bitterness, and resentment take you to the depths of negativity. You never see anything good in the person that you think does not deserve forgiveness, yet this same person could be a blessing to your life. So you are basically hindering yourself from being blessed by holding or not forgiving. You are not freed from living in the past. Now, when you forgive, you are able to live in the present. And why do I say that? When you dwell so much on what has happened in the past, you miss out on what God is doing presently. So I would say you miss today's beauty because of yesterday's pain. Let us focus on today's beauty. Let us focus on what God is doing today by letting go. And then why do we need to forgive? We give up power of being in control to the person we feel has offended us. So when you forgive, you have that control back. You are just irritated by them. They take away your joy, peace, and happiness. That is what our unforgiveness does. It takes away all this beauty that you need to have with you. And then we need to forgive so that we can have a good physical and mental health. Some of the things that we go through, stress, depression, anxiety, is just because we are carrying unforgiveness in us. We need to let go. And then, why do we need to forgive? I think from the previous scriptures that we have read, we see we need to forgive because we too need forgiveness. And God has forgiven us. And maybe you can look even at the story of the unmerciful servant in Matthew chapter 18, where because of lack of forgiving, you end up getting even a harsh punishment at the end. So unforgiveness brings disharmony and disunity. This breaks families, communities, and even the church at large. You cannot stay in the same environment with someone you have not forgiven. And if we carry that, especially in the church and in our communities, then we cannot progress or move forward because there's no dialogue. And then finally, why do we need to forgive? It is a command. Forgiveness is not a suggestion or a comment, but it is a command. We saw in Luke 6:31, do to others what you will have them do to you. So let us forgive. And just as we finish, forgiveness is eliminating the negativity that results from wounds and pains by letting go of our emotional baggage. Matthew 11:28 gives it a very good synopsis, and I like the invitation given to us by Jesus, and I'll just read it. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Put my yoke upon your shoulders. It might appear heavy at first, but it is perfectly fitted to your calves. I like this part and this version as it says, it is perfectly fitted to your calves. And it's just like when you buy a new shoe and put it on. Sometimes it doesn't fit, but after 2-3 fittings, you realize it fits perfectly. Learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. When you are yoked to me, your weary souls will find rest. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. That's the Voice translation. So these burdens that you are carrying of unforgiveness, let's bring them to the Lord. Though forgiveness comforts the person forgiven, we do not forgive for the other person. Forgiveness is for me, that I may be set free. I may be able to live in peace and harmony with others. So, in conclusion, to me, I say, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping the other person will die. God bless. And let us live a forgiving life and letting go of what we are carrying.